Hello, hello, and welcome back to Arise and Shine. Hey, Benicia.
Hey Tanya, happy Saturday.
Oh, thank you. It's gorgeous out, right?
It is. And I'm excited because we have another amazing show on today. We're just
Yes, we do.
getting
Yes, we do.
blessed with all these amazing people, with all these stories of triumph. I leave
Mhm.
every Saturday so
Yes,
excited knowing that, God is still in the blessing business. It's exciting.
yes, he is. He is in the blessing business, and this couple this morning, to me, I saw their story only because truly you pointed it
Mhm.
out, and then I got to watch a little bit of it. Come to find out, I know each of them separately for a different reason, but
Mhm.
I'm excited to hear about the union and the amazing work of God. So
Yes.
let's bring them in. Let's bring them
Let's
in.
bring them in.
Hello, good morning, guys.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How are you?
We are great. We're great. How are you doing?
We are doing great. Thank you. I'm feeling blessed. I got to wake up next to my best friend, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing, girl. You had that already. God just gives you stuff to say.
Yes.
Good morning, then I rise family. I see y'all joining in the room. Please remember to share. Remember to share.
Yes.
So good to see you again, Benicia. You stepped out for a second and now you back ready to ask a question. I know you got one.
Listen, one, I just want to say that I
Oh, we
really, really
lost her.
admire this couple. I really do. And it's a lot of things that I admire, but there's two things that stick out. And I love their authenticity and their transparency. And I love it because I don't think that we can really understand the
Oh, he's
depth
not here.
Hold
of,
on, Benicia. I think that
okay.
Lou's having a hard time hearing you. Lou, are you
Okay.
having a difficulty hearing Benicia?
Yeah, I can't hear Benicia, but I can hear you perfectly clearly.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll fix it. No worries. Benicia was talking about what she loves is your transparency and the authenticity of your story.
Ah,
So we're ready to actually jump right into that and tell people really, Benicia, um, wanted to talk about focusing on you for a minute, Lou, and what brought you to where you are today. And then stop just short of that because then we want to ask Cameo. Listen to me changing the name to Camille. You get that a lot, probably, don't you?
No worries.
Then we want to talk to you about,
there she goes.
how that puzzle piece comes together.
Mm.
Benicia, can you hear us all? Say something so we know that you're 100% in the room.
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you 100%. Very good.
Yay! Technology's not going to take this show down. So,
Oh, yeah,
what
no.
I was saying to Lou Benicia is that we want to start with him because his story as an individual is amazing,
Hmm.
right? Did you want to
Yes.
add anything to that?
So, yes, I wanted to start with the head of the household because this
Come on.
is, a newlywed couple. I mean, new, y'all, like fresh, wet behind the ears,
Right.
July 12th, 2020, new. And I just thought that, it was proper to do the order in which God intended. So, we did want to start with Lou. I really, really, really appreciate the discipline and the work that he did and is still doing to be not only the head of his household, but to really walk out the calling that God has on his life. And many don't know. I mean, we see his muscles a little bit today, but many people don't know that you had not only a spiritual transformation, but you also had a physical transformation. And so would you just share with our audience what that looked like, how you got in that position, where you were, and what was the journey like making a decision that you wanted to transform your life?
Well, most definitely, I could definitely start out, and I just want to say thank you guys for inviting me to Cameo again to the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It truly means a lot. Um, so start off where that journey began. So pretty much, I was not always overweight. We go all back. We always go back to high school. What we look like in high school. And in
Yeah.
high school, I was fit. I was all state track, all state football.
Mm.
Everything was great. Everything was golden. Left there, went to college, didn't do so well. Life pretty much went downhill at that point. You stop working out. You start hanging out with the wrong people. You start doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
Uh, and I always had a food addiction. I always loved food. Even to this day with transformation, I still have love food. And yeah, right. And yeah, Camille's gonna pull me down. When she cooks, if she cooks, I mean, I slow down. So it keeps me a nice portion size. But if it was me, I cook a lot. But I went downhill. At one point, I tried to go to college. I had a nice job. Blew money really fast because I'm not sure of what I'm doing, not knowing what kind of lessons I'm going through, and then I'm just eating, and eating, and eating, and eating, and we're just gonna teach. That story just continues all the way through.
Wow.
Some point in there, I was actually homeless,
Mm.
and that was rough. And I had to find my way through a city for a couple of months.
Wow.
I realized that God said that this wasn't it for me. My mother didn't raise me like that, and it was a lot of my own choices I had to realize myself because I knew that was something else that God had for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, got into a relationship. I got into that relationship. I was with a woman for 7 years. Um, when you're in it, it seems fine, everything's normal. But unfortunately, it didn't work out like that in the sense of like, you're thinking like, oh, God has this for me, right? But I'm still eating, still going, things still going wrong, but you're
Right.
not understanding why, like, and my eating at the time was, I'd eat when I was happy. I'd even eat even more when I was sad. So
Oh, emotional eating.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you just kept eating. So your addiction on top of your depression, in a sense,
Mm.
keeps adding on top of that.
Yeah.
And I got to a point one day. I got to a point. I went to a dentist appointment, and my blood pressure was I think it was like 285 over 190.
No
Whoa.
way.
So I pretty much
That's heart
went to the
attack
dentist.
though.
Right. The
Exactly.
the fact you're sitting here is a miracle.
Exactly.
280. My
And that was
God.
in 2000. That was in 2000. That was the end of 2015, December,
Mm.
before my transformation started. So, but that realization, and I was just like, and if anyone knows me, I have tattoos on my body that relate a lot to God, me personally, because I feel like He's always been with me. That's the only thing that got me through a lot of things that I've been through in my life, especially
Mm.
coming out of that relationship. There are things, and even in there, that just threw me just in a whole nother level. And so coming out of a dentist office, they're like, they can't even let you go. They talking about something, sir, we can't let you leave. You got to
Yeah.
go to
Mm.
the hospital today. And
Mm.
I'm like, what do you mean? I came in here for cleaning. Like, I just need you to clean my teeth. They're like, if we touch you, there's a possibility you could die from anything.
Wow.
Jesus.
So, that's a realization. And I remember the moment that I got out of that dentist office, and I just bawled tears because
Mm.
you wonder, where did you go wrong? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and so at that point, I decided to. What I did was I ended up getting the gastric sleeve.
Mm.
Um, and you go through physical training, mental training, and emotional training, because when you get the gastric sleeve, it is a very big transformation. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point during these trainings, the 6 month process, I said, well, the only thing that's really going to help me is kind of like getting myself back to what home was. And home for me was
Mm.
God, like my mother taught me. But
Mhm.
now you got to find your way back again, because the circle that I'm in doesn't really have it. So now you got to find people that that are not around. So how do you do that?
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
That's good.
going from that point, I got the gastric sleeve. I got that in 2016, August, 3 days before my birthday, actually.
Mm.
And at that point on, when I came out of surgery, I said, I'm never going back to that weight, and I'm never not going to not know God ever again.
Wow.
So I started going back to church every once in a while. You started slow because I really don't have any people that want to actually fully go with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I said, I'm going to go. I'm going to go regardless, even I don't care if I don't talk to nobody.
Mm.
And then at some point I was studying. I was also in school, so I also was going for my 4-year degree in Bachelor's in Information Technology, with a focus in cybersecurity and a focus in cybersecurity and project management. And so, there's a lot piled on. And at that time, I had a family I was with the relationship I was in. You had 2 kids, and just you're still trying to do all this full time work and have a full time job, and coaching and doing all the volunteer stuff that you can possibly think of. But you're
Mm.
still like something is just missing.
Right.
So God,
Empty.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and,
Mhm.
and God, I said, God, I just finished I was just finishing up my certificate program for project management. And I said, all right, God, when I finish this up, I'm all devoted to you 120%. And no more excuses outside of that. From that point, I remember from that point on, 2 months later, I got a job to come down here in Charlotte. That
Mm.
was 2017. So I just finished my program. So 2017, I got a job. I didn't even hesitate. I said, I'm ready to come down to Charlotte. God, whatever you have for me is probably going to be here. And one thing I remember is I said, I'm never moving to Charlotte a couple months before that, because that's where the headquarters of the job was. That's where the
Isn't it
headquarters
funny
of the
how we
job
think
was.
we in charge?
Right. God had different plans.
That's
He
right.
had
And
different plans.
that was very much so. And God had a whole different plan. I'm like, all right, well, I told you never. And I'm very big on a person saying never say never, because God's going to call you on it.
Mm.
And I said never. He was just like, well, your job's down there. What you going to do? Because you sure ain't getting up here.
Right.
So I moved from Pennsylvania down to Charlotte. And in
Mm.
Charlotte, I came down here. I got connected with some people. Um, I have no family down here. I have no
Mm.
friends. I don't know anybody at this point. I'm just coming down here, and I had just ended that. I had just ended that long 7-year relationship at that point, because I felt like it wasn't what I needed. It wasn't something that God allowed me to do, because I believe in marriage, and I believed in that when I went into it. So
Mm.
it was like, well, I'm not married, then I'm wasting your time. Not even gonna waste my time. I'm wasting your time.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
it's I left that relationship, and for 2 years, I'm still wandering. Let's not make it funky like I found God fully and I'm just doing all righteous things. I'm still out here talking to women with no remorse in what I'm doing, not hurting anybody, but not like taking care of myself at that.
Right.
Really, what's really as real as it.
Mm.
Um, I came from a loving home, a loving background, but I got hooked up with Fly Tie, Jacinda, the whole Stolen Lunches
Oh,
family,
yes. Yeah.
and just got a whole heap of welcome, invitation, love, experience, and just they took me under like yeah, I don't know, without that type of family, what I would be looking at down here in Charlotte, because those are the
Mm.
friends that I just said that weren't in Pennsylvania because they were down here. Because now the
Yes.
people that are looking for God were down here. So I was looking for it. And then,
Mm.
so just going through that, I'm working out now, doing a lot of different things. I help other bariatric patients go through things. Like, so for myself, if anybody's doing my surgery, I help teach them how to get out of what they're in. So because we go through personality change, mental depression, dumping disorders, a whole bunch of heap of things that are a side
Mm.
effect after getting the surgery. And they talk you through it in the beginning, but it's always that after, when I'm in it, it's the hard part.
Right.
So
Yeah, that would make sense because that's it's a transformation, a what's that big word? Metamorphosis, right?
Metamorphosis.
yep,
Right.
Yeah, so everything's shifting and changing. So to have somebody that's gone through that, kind of walk through the fire, like
Mm.
through the fire and not get burnt and share with
Mm.
others, that's powerful that you can do that.
Mm.
exactly, exactly. And then it was just, at some point in, I'm going through stolen lunches. I'm starting to, give back and do more volunteering. And actually, how I got to stolen lunches was one thing. I just want to say that before I go into the next thing. Was I actually was down here in Charlotte, like I said, I didn't know anybody, and I moved into some random person's house just because I had nowhere to go because I don't know where I'm going.
Mm.
I said I was going to volunteer at a Special Olympics because I felt like God told me to do that. And the person that I was connected to at that time introduced me to Stolen Lunches, and that's how I got connected because I did what God told me to do in the
Mm.
beginning,
Mm.
and go back to doing what I used to do, what I know is right for me, and I did
Right.
it, and it led me here. So, um, but at
Wow.
that point, it takes me all the way to 2018,
Mm.
and me and Cameo meet in the retreat in August of 2018 as
Mm.
friends. Yeah.
And and both of you thought you were just going to a Bible study. You weren't even in the same Bible study. It was like the guys were in one thing and the
Mhm.
girls were in another, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Shout out to Stolen Lunches because I think what they do is extraordinary.
Amazing. Amazing. It
Yeah.
is.
So
It
next
is.
time somebody's your girlfriend or you guys out there, you're getting tugged by your boy to go to Bible study, you best go.
Yeah.
Better
Yeah.
go.
You best go.
You never know what's waiting for
Mm-hmm.
you. So I mean, we really can't wrap it up and tie it up in a bow because the story is still being revealed and unfolded. But what I can
Yes.
say is key things that I heard you say. Number one, you had to get into a place where you were tired of being tired. One. Two, you had to get back to what was already in you, which is the foundation of Christ. Three, you had to do the work, and you had to come
Yeah.
out of
The
being
work.
comfortable. So it's comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in Pennsylvania. It's comfortable eating, whether I'm upset or whether I'm not. And if we're all honest, there's a place in everyone where they're comfortable. There could be
Yeah.
an addiction in everyone, so you have to watch it. For you, it was food. Somebody, it could be shoes. It could be sex. It could be whatever. But the
Mm-hmm.
key is that when God's hand is on your life, nothing or no one can snatch it out because God was ordering your steps, even unbeknownst to you, by you going to
Mm.
the dentist. It triggered something.
Yes.
And while you were saying that, I just heard the word awaken. So that was an awakening moment for you, and I think we all
Yes.
have that. How in the world did I get here? Like, you've been sleeping and not even realizing
Mm-hmm.
everything that you have gone through, the trauma that you've experienced. You're just like pushing through life, really existing and not surviving, not really existing and not living, actually. And so now we turn
That's
it
good.
over to Cameo because, listen, what was going on in Cameo's life in 2015, 2016, all the way up until you guys actually met? Because I know you have your own story. So share with the people.
So starting in 2015, that helps me because I can talk and be all over.
Down the
um,
yellow brick road.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So 2015, and
Aw.
this is all
Strength.
funny, guys. So 2015, that year, I actually was, I guess, the beginning of that summer. I was told I was living with my mom, and I had just recently had my youngest son, who he was 2 at the time,
Mm,
and I had to move back home because the relationship just wasn't working. I had my own place and I got pregnant. He didn't want to uh, necessarily get married, and it was just this crazy little thing. We ended up getting married anyway. That lasted literally 4 to 7 days. I can't even remember exactly, and
wow.
Wow.
it was completely done. We never moved in together, and I was left at my mother's house.
Mm,
And I got so down and depressed during that time, but I
Mm.
started Bible studies, and that helped. And that took me from 2013 to 2015. Well, 2015, my mother tells me, honey, you got to move back out. You got to get back on
mm,
your feet. You can do it. And I had been working for this school for a year. And she was like, you got to go. And I had the worst anxiety attack, which made the doctors think I had a heart attack.
wow.
When they went in to do the like the scan, some type of MRI scan, I had to get dye in my veins, and it
Mm,
busted vein, clotted me, and so I
wow.
had a blood clot that I struggled with that summer for 4 months.
Mm,
And in that time,
Wow.
I still had to move out of my mother's house, and um, it was a
Wow.
hard time because I was on blood thinners that they told you if you hit yourself, like if you got a bruise or
Yeah.
bump or something, you could die. So I
Mm-hmm.
literally just froze. And, I was a very active mother up until that time. So I wasn't used to not playing with my kids. They weren't used to me not playing. They couldn't fit, what's wrong with you, mom? I laid in the bed a lot, and I was going through this transformation. I think God had me in to slow me down, right? And
Mm,
that's what I know His calling was at that time. I would get up at 4:30 in the morning. I would read because I had to keep my anxiety down.
mm,
And they had prescribed me all kinds of medications with that blood thinner. They had already, I guess because it's such a lifestyle change, they gave me an antidepressant, and the anxiety medication, which was highly addictive. All
mm,
of this stuff that I actually never took the antidepressant, but I took the anxiety medication. And my mom and sister, they're very active. Well, my mom especially very active in my life. So she was like, "This isn't for you. You can't use the medication because it's addictive, and I don't want to see you go down that road." So they
mm.
took the medication, and I went directly to the Word. I knew the only way for me to get through this
Come
was
on.
through the Word.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
in that prayer, I was like, of course, you want to bargain with God a little bit. You don't want to do this. That's what I was doing.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say you want to, but that's what I was doing. I was like, if you, save me from this, then I'll do your work and I'll do this.
Mm,
So of course, I get off the medication, but around the time of the ending, I ended up meeting some guy, and in my mind, I was thinking I'm ready for marriage again. This is a couple years after my divorce and stuff.
mm,
'Cause we literally, I had a baby, got married, and divorced all in 1 year. Like
mm.
so that had already passed. So I'm
I
thinking,
think you said that's a record, huh? You set a record right there, huh?
I set a record. I set a record.
And
Uh,
yeah, and I would think that put a lot on you at the time. It felt like a lot, but as you look back, you're probably like, "Holy cow!
Mm,
I walked through that."
I
mm,
walked, yeah, it seems like I walked through it. At the time, the world was just crashing. But I remember being so strong in it too. Like it hadn't knocked me down just yet. But
mm,
I was probably getting weaker and not realizing it. When I look back at it now, I go, wow, that was a hard 3 months. But, I
right.
know God was carrying me through. And the reason why we got divorced was because I realized God wasn't in it. And I quickly was like, you know what? And it was nothing like this at all. Nothing. Nothing.
Mm,
The marriage wasn't consummate. Like it was just a sign the paper and go because I had a kid.
right.
But God, just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you take it in your own hands to try to fix it.
Come
And that's
on.
what I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So when I meet this guy in 2015, I said, that's my husband.
Mm,
Hands down. So I ended up
Wow.
letting everything go before, the real that person really came out. So I met a
right.
representative.
Mm.
And I
So
had to
no
go.
check-in cameo. You didn't check in with God. You just
With
was
dad.
like, this is it. I know
No,
this is it.
I had a wish list that,
Okay.
he had to have the money. He had to look
Not the
nice.
list,
Like he
girl.
had to
Not the
fit,
list.
the list came out. He had to
Yeah, we
fit the
gotta talk about that.
physique.
Hmm.
He had to be a good father. I thought, I had to have a man with kids of his own since I had 2 kids. And it was like no one was going to accept me any other way.
Mm,
So, I had
Mm.
my own list and I did not check in with God. I actually said,
mm,
if this man is not married, that is my husband.
mm.
And
Wow.
he was actually separated, legally married, but separated. So
Right.
and I prayed to God about it. I said, if this man is not, this is going to be my husband. But I
Mm,
told God what I wanted. This was
mhm.
going to be, I didn't ask him. I said, this is going
She
to
said, "I told God what
That's
I want."
real
Did you
though. That's
catch that?
helping somebody. That's helping
Yes.
somebody. Hmm.
be, yeah.
Yes.
So when I told God what I wanted, he'll let you do what you want to do if
Oh
you're
yeah.
not going to listen, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
okay, Camille, but not to say I didn't get my warning.
Hmm.
This man literally stood in front of me and told me all the red flags he thought I needed to hear.
Mm,
I have an issue with women. I'm insecure. I like strip clubs. I like to party. That
mm,
this was, mind you, at this time, I had never been to a strip club, drinking, smoking. None of that was my life at all.
mm.
I'm 29 years old, didn't even curse. And
Wow.
I got with this man because I felt like I was ready for marriage. I was physically attracted to him. And
Hmm.
I just knew. So when they said separated, when he said separated, I said, okay, you don't live with it, right? no, I'm gonna get the divorce. He was already in the process. So I don't know, somewhere in my mind I thought it was okay. But
Right.
it wasn't. It wasn't. And I
Been there.
had to learn that. I didn't learn that it truly wasn't until about 2017. That's
Yeah.
how long it took me to figure out.
Mm.
And it took God
Mm.
sending so many people. In that year 2015, I also got connected with Stolen Lunches, because this was like the last half of 2015. While I'm doing this, within 30 days, I instantly feel my relationship with God deteriorate. 30 days of me
Mm.
not seeing
Wow.
him.
That's
And
real.
my soul was it's like I took a knife and stabbed my own soul, and then
Mm.
every month I just started twisting it and twisting it. It's the craziest thing because I knew I was going against God. I read my
Mm.
Bible every day for 4 months. So however many days that is, that's a lot of days before I met this man. When I
Mhm.
met him, within 30 days, I had to put my Bible down because I
Mm.
said, "Ooh, I don't feel right." You can't
Mm.
serve two gods. You cannot, because
Mm.
you go out here and serving the riches and,
Yeah.
getting this money and doing, having sex and fornicating before marriage and doing all this stuff,
Yeah.
and then expect God to bless you over here. Not to
That's
mention
such.
the abomination I was calling against myself because he was married, legally married to another woman still.
Mm. That's
So
such a good
Mm.
point.
That's so powerful, Camille.
Mm.
That is so powerful. You can't serve two gods.
Mm.
You just can't serve two gods.
Mm.
And what it took, the space that it took you to realize that, and it's so crazy the distractions that we get. You're on a solid course. You're
Yeah.
buried in your word, and here come the squirrel, right?
Distraction.
this
Distraction.
this
Yes.
Here comes the squirrel.
I was celibate, well, abstinent, because celibacy and abstinence kind of two different things. So we like to use the term
Yes.
abstinent.
Yes,
Yes.
And
ma'am.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I was abstinent almost a full year before I met him. I was so focused on the word. But when he came and when I thought he mentioned the word God, it was like, oh, you got to find a balance so we could do this party, and, you could go read your word and do gospel at the same time. So I was starting to do these things. He took me to places I never seen before. My eyes, it was literally like just taking a young girl, because at 29, though I was old, though he thought I was grown, I was still a baby, I think, in my mind, because I purposely never exposed myself to
Mm.
certain things.
Right.
And I didn't, because it's not God-like.
Mhm.
And so being
Mm.
exposed to all of that, I literally just was
Yes.
going down. I received, as I'm going down, God sent Stolen Lunches to me as well. I had met, um, it was actually Melody Stevens. I had known Jacinda in 2007, I believe we met, but we never discussed what Stolen Lunches was. But Melody brought Stolen Lunches to my attention. And so she actually started a women's study herself. And I
Mhm.
was really connected to that. And when I went in January 2016, I went to something Melody had. And I knew then, I was like, God still has his hand on me, because this is a powerful thing that I'm feeling.
Mm.
And I couldn't figure out how to, like, fix it, right? But by January 2016, I literally know this relationship is not for me. So I actually didn't know this in his story. So this is pretty cool, because as we talk and do this, we learn. So he
Yes.
went to
Yes.
the end of December 2015. Well, I went on vacation with that particular guy the December 2015, and
Mm.
it was a very rough month for. It was a bad vacation. I got sick. He blamed me. So, needless to say, it ended up being more of like an abusive relationship. And I was so sick from the alcohol that I drank that month, the partying that we did early in that month. By the second week of December, I could only eat rice, plain white rice, and drink water. That's how I had messed my body up. And then I
Mm.
go on this thing where I don't want to eat. I don't want to I'm learning to hate myself, because I know I'm not doing God's work, and I know that that's what I was called to do.
Mm.
Um So I go through 2016 was just a rough year by itself. 2017, and I'm connected to Melody. I'm hearing about Stolen Lunches. I'll look online, but I won't attend. And so January 2017, and I'm still with this guy this whole time. I go to another event Melody had, and her events are absolutely amazing. And I right before I went in there, I said, God, I know you don't like me right now. And I know I have not talked to you. I had not talked to God since in 30 days, the first 30 days. I had not really opened up my word. And within 60 days of me meeting that guy, life everywhere started happening. Finances went crazy. My children's fathers took me for custody of the kids. But I now have two custody battles, not just one, but two. That one ended about a year and a half after it started, and the other one lasted 7 years. So all this is happening, and all of this happened within. So within the first 4 months of me meeting that guy, I stopped talking to God. I end up with two custody issues. I'm losing my finances. I get extremely physically sick, and I ended up having to start working two jobs. Now working two jobs, which in my eyes always made him upset. And then it was worse for me because I wasn't always available for him. So I was going through it. And January 2017, I prayed to God and I said, just meet me the way we met back in 2009 when I first got saved. And that was January 29th, 2009. And this event was that same weekend in 2017. So we went into this full blown like prayer, and they were praying over me. It was straight worship. I didn't know anybody else was in that room besides me and God. For a good, they said I was probably down prostrate for like an hour.
Wow.
And when I came to, I look at the clock. It is January 29th, like 12:01, 2017, the exact same time that I had got saved in 2009.
Jesus.
I
Jesus.
was like, oh, glory be to God. And so I
Mm-hmm.
got clear instructions, okay? Clear instructions to go on a 40-day fast.
Wow.
You know, this 40-day fast would include no clubbing, no drinking, no sex, and limited communication with this guy.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to go along with me on the journey.
Yeah,
So
no.
I heard God clear as day. Went right back to
He-
him.
You weren't ready.
Told the guy, and I was like, I really want you to come with me on this. I know God has something for us if you just follow suit. Like I'm telling you. He was like, no, not doing a 40-day fast. If I had known you didn't want to have sex on our first date, I would have never talked to you to begin with. And I told
Come
him that
on.
on the first date that I was celibate at that time, and
That's
because I was
crazy.
using the term celibate at that time, so I'll use that as I'm celibate. And within 30 days, he got, we ended up doing it anyway. And so I went back to my original thought, and now we're almost 2 years in this relationship, and I'm like, I don't really want this. I want God, and so we broke up that night because he didn't want to do it. And I know I heard clearly from God, but no one tells you. I'm not gonna say not yet. I didn't know what I was walking into with that breakup because I didn't understand the soul tie that I created with that
Yes.
person. And
Yeah.
so when the loneliness came, when that sadness came, when I couldn't, I thought it was gonna be easy to do this fast. And about a week before completing the fast, we ended up talking again, and I messed up. And now we're like spring of 2017, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is not good. And I felt that. So 2017 was a rough year because now I got this guilt again because I messed up with God. I really tried. I know I heard you, but I can't seem to now break this relationship. And the abuse was getting worse and worse. November to December 2017 was the hardest. I was a lot of suicide ideation because of the things I was going through, and it was hard. So come, I think June 2018, I just was so tired. I ended up going to a women's Bible study somewhere in that time, early 2018. I actually went physically to several lunches. And I was hiding my life. This is the most I've actually talked about this publicly. I was hiding. I was living a double
Well,
life.
we appreciate the transparency.
Yes, we
We
do.
appreciate it. You're
And
saving somebody. You're breaking
Absolutely.
strongholds right now.
I felt that. So
Mm.
you end
Yes.
up, you really can't live a double life, but that's what I was trying to do. But my soul was, I mean, I might as well have been just a zombie walking around. And June 2018, I did some type of Facebook Live on depression, and another guy reached out to me, and
Mm.
I just want attention so bad. I wanted somebody to love me the way I needed to, because the guy I was with, now we going on 2015 to 2018. We stretched in this relationship. He told me in the beginning he also didn't want to get married for 10 years. So I was 29, which means at 39 that I might be a candidate for marriage. It wasn't a guarantee. And I accepted that at first. I'm like, okay, like just not in a good place. Even though I thought I was confident in my spirituality, I was not confident in who Cameo was and who my emotions were, my mental state. I still had not dealt with the last toxic relationship with my son's father and other stuff. So a lot of toxicity in my life from 16 on up to this point. So I had to work through that. With June 2018, I meet this guy. I break up with the other guy, because it was that draining. I read a book in June 2018 called Reflections of a Man, I believe.
Mm.
And in that book, it was talking about a man and relationships and all this stuff, and it asked you to write out, if you did not look at a man's appearance or his finances, what would he be?
Wow.
Mm,
And I wrote
mm.
out, because I remember I said, Lord, why would you do that to me? Finances and the physical appearance. I literally said this to God, I said that matters. But if you want me to write it, I'll write it. So I closed
Mm.
my eyes and thinking, what would this man be? And I wrote out, he had to be strong and emotionally stable. He had to be emotionally in tune with me, to understand my hurt, my past pains, to accept me and my children and their fathers included, because their fathers are still in their life. Maybe not for me, but very good fathers for them. Um, okay. And I wrote in there that he also must individually meet my children and know them and me. Like, it was more emotional, and lead us back through God, be spiritually connected. Everything was spiritual and emotional and mental peace that I
Wow.
read. And so, um, as soon as I wrote it, some guy literally comes out of nowhere. He's like, "Girl, I'm in love with you. I'm gonna make you my wife. I'm gonna da da da." So I'm like, "Okay, I didn't find this one. I found this last one. I literally walked up to him and was like, 'You're gonna be my husband.'" So I didn't find this one. I thought it was okay. And I just jumped. I don't know. I just jumped because I
Mm.
still wasn't solid. I still was not confident in these relationships. And so we just go really fast and move in. And August came. I heard about this retreat. I said, I'm going to this retreat. I don't care what's stopping me. And I'm talking to both of these men, trying to figure out my life. And
Mm.
I really want them both to come to the retreat. Like, y'all need to get your life right too. They don't want to come. So I'm left alone. I know neither one are for me or what God wants. And that retreat is what helped break that toxic cycle that I was in,
Mm.
trying to figure out these men, because that wasn't
Mhm.
my job. Neither one are true men of God.
Yes.
They didn't know how to lead. So I go to the retreat. Now, what I will say for both men, they are good people,
Mm.
right? That was what kept me, is that I see them taking care of their moms and the grandmothers. I'm seeing them take care of their kids. They just
Right.
couldn't take care of me because they weren't assigned to me. God
Right.
didn't
Good and
assign
God
Mm.
is a difference.
Say
Good and
that
God
again,
is a
girl.
difference.
they were not
Hmm.
assigned to me as
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
husband to take care of me. So it was not going to work. But if you
Mm.
meet these men on the street, very good men for anybody else. I just know it wasn't for me. So when
Mm.
I went to the retreat in August, I literally go, I'm scared. And then I get there, I'm thinking I'm a room with the girls that I know, the women that I knew. And I was not rooming with them. I was sad. I was like, they didn't put me in the room with them. Now I'm stuck at this other cabin by myself. And I said, at first I wanted to leave, all because of the room. And I never even told the young ladies that, but I said, okay, stay and just work it out. and I stayed. And Lou walks through the door, and instantly we meet eye contact, and like out of nowhere. And he's by the door, and I'm way on the other side of the room. And I go to myself, I'm not here for that. He's not even my type. Like, keep moving. God's trying to take you from two relationships right now. What are you doing? And I don't know why we
Run, run.
So it was good. And then from the retreat, our first conversation was about hand sanitizer and food, because I was standing at the back of the line waiting to get my food, and he comes up last, and he's like, like, we exchanged names, and what are you doing waiting? And I'm like, I'm a germaphobe. I can't. Everybody got ahead of me. If I'm not first, now I got to be last, because I don't want to be in the middle of the germs. And because it's a buffet style, and so everybody, how buffet style is. And so after that, we parted. I went with the women. He went with the men. We didn't see each other until the end of the next day. Surrounded by the fire, we all had to go around this fire and write out the things that we wanted to get rid of. And when I tell you, so first there was a seat beside him. I get down there last for some reason. I'm trying to figure out what seat to sit down at. And there's only one seat that seemed available right next to him. It's like this light was shining right beside him. So I'm like, I gotta go sit beside this dude. Go sit beside him. I'm like, hey, sit down. And we gotta write down what we want to throw in the fire. I got like 2 pages. I'm writing down because I had 7 abusive relationships I was in my 20s. I started at 16 and went all the way through 33, through 30, 32. And so, I was writing a lot down. Excuse me. I was writing a lot down I needed to get rid of. And he goes and, who went? Did I go first?
I think you went
I
first.
think I went first with my list, and I wanted to destroy low self-esteem, lack of confidence, the abuse, the negativity, the negative thoughts, like, that shamefulness that I felt from being a teen mom and then an unmarried mom. Then I married the man, we divorced like ASAP. Like, I had so much that I was holding on to with shame and guilt and
Yeah.
embarrassment. I was like, God, I don't want any of this. And I threw it in the fire, and I felt so free from that. And that's where the work began. And the women poured into me. Jacinda poured into me. And they all kept saying, you got to do the work, honey. You got to do the work. Maybe you like being abused. Maybe you like being depressed. Now,
Come on.
the addiction.
Hard talk. Wow.
I don't know if she want me to say her name. This woman blessed me.
Yes.
And she looked at me, and that's what she said at that retreat. Maybe you maybe you like it. I was like, who are you talking to? Me and her was like, about to go at the retreat. I was like, wait, what? So after
happening?
She put me to the side, and she said, I did that on purpose, but I needed to test you out. I needed to see if you really do like it. Because if you've been in that many relationships, maybe there's something that's not right, And she poured into me for hours. But very wonderful. I probably was an Asia Richardson, blessing. Had she not had that talk with me, I would have still been in that circle of craziness.
Yeah.
So
you know what, Cameo, thank you for sharing that. I just have to interrupt you real quick, because that is powerful in itself. A lot of times women, we get a bad rap, right? That we don't care about each other. We can't do this together. We can't work together. We stand in judgment of each other all the time, right? So find a sister that's willing not only to straighten your crown, but to, excuse the expression, but pop you one good one when you need it, right? In love and in more love. That will help you straighten your walk. Now, if she had come for you with nothing else and not the grace of God, that's another podcast, honestly. But such a blessing when you hear stories like that. That, I love you with the love of Christ, and I need you to look in this mirror. not because I want you to hurt, but because I want you to stop hurting. I
Yeah.
need you to look in this mirror. So yeah, definitely shout out to her because she is definitely somebody that altered your path, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yes. It was truly a blessing. Like if she did leave it like that, it would have been painful. I would have still been like, okay, now what you want me to do? Like, no. I wouldn't have been able, but she was like, I didn't understand what she meant, but I liked it too. So I was very thankful that she came to the side. We talked till like 2, 3 o'clock that morning. Just standing outside this woods. We was in her car just sitting talking, and she blessed me that night. And that's where the work began. But I didn't realize how hard that work was going to be. But I never gave up. And I struggled between the toxicity and all the fun I had in the relationship. Just because that relationship was abusive, that means we also didn't have some fun in there because your
That's
flesh
that's
likes to
that's the
sin,
truth. Mm-hmm.
right? Your flesh likes to sin. So then I'm like, okay, I got to really change this lifestyle up. Well, we went back to the, what's your thing?
Um,
Where we
oh,
started our,
before we started there, I had started at the fire because
oh
she had set up
yeah,
the fire. I had threw in uh, the loneliness. She actually tells the story better than I do. I forgot how well I said it. She repeated it verbatim for me. I threw in loneliness. I'm an only child. I mean, I have family. Uh, I have family. I have friends, but you know that everybody has siblings, so you're not really connected to somebody. It's like you're
Right.
convenient. They don't like no one wish you harm, but there's a level of loneliness in there, and God knows
Hmm.
where I'm operating at. Like I'm likable. People like me. People will hang out with me. You'll talk and laugh and giggle with me, but not a lot of people would call to check up on me. No
Right.
one knew what I was doing when I was doing something. It was always an after effect. What have you been up to? Oh well, I was homeless for about 3 months, but whatever though, 4 years later.
Right.
um,
Wow.
and you get to the point I was like, I finally came down to Charlotte, and like I said, I went to that retreat and I threw in that thing of loneliness. I said, God, if you got something for me now, this is it, because I don't know how further I can go on this journey by myself, because I know that the art of community is part of what you're asking us, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't seem to find the right part of community.
Mm.
Like I know I'm in the vicinity. It's like if you are in the city of the kingdom, there's neighborhoods in the kingdom. What neighborhood do you need me in, God? Because I can't seem to find it on my own, and that was the
Right.
problem, because I was looking on my own.
Yes. That's
So
so
Mm.
good.
I
That's so
think
good.
God was
Um,
both of our relinquished moments. Now that didn't mean we didn't fight those moments afterwards,
mm,
but we knew
right.
it was something there.
Right. There's one thing that I wanted to go back to that I thought was so powerful. Everything you said was just so relevant. But it's a couple of things that's just in my spirit that I think we need to address. One, someone could be asking those questions, like the young lady did. Okay, so you in 7 relationships. I think what we do, even as believers, is we place this judgment on people, right, because of the behavior, but we never take the time, even to your point, Lou, to get to the root of something. Well, if you just want to, like you said, just chill and pop some jokes or whatever, you never really get to know a person, what they've experienced. We know daddy issues are real. If you haven't had a dad in your life, I know your parents divorced at a young age, all of that trauma that we haven't dealt with. So I think as believers, we have a commission to not only do community, but to watch for those things and to watch how we can help those individuals that we see struggling, because everybody has had a struggle. Everybody has
Yeah.
gone through some things. Some have been more upfront than others. Everybody got skeletons in their closet.
Oh yeah.
But what I love is that God heals all wounds. God forgives us of all our sins. And I love what you two are doing, because you're taking your story and now you are being the person that that lady was to you. Lou, you're being that friend that you were longing for. And that's what it really
Yes.
is all about. When we give our lives to Christ, he takes our
Yes.
mess and turns it into ministry. The other
Yes.
thing that you said that was really ringing in my spirit that we have to let the people know is you're absolutely right. I think about the days in the club and turning up and with this person or whatever, and the fun that you really thought you were having, because the key is that fun is temporary.
Mhm.
And not only is it temporary, but like you said, when it made such an impact that it perpetuated continuous wrong choices and behavior. So
Yeah.
we just want to speak to the audience because we don't know where people are. It may seem like you're having fun. It may be
Mm.
hard to let go, but at the end of the day, God's way is profitable, but you can't do that by yourself. You have to be willing, like you said, to do the work. You have to be willing to connect with community, come out of your comfort zone, and be transparent even when you mess up. I think sometimes that's where we
Yeah.
fall short is, like you said, the shame that comes with it. But when you have people that will check you but still love you at the same time, that's what causes you to get up. Don't just check me like you've never been there. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
check me, right? And sometimes you do have to be stern. You have to tell people what they don't want to hear, but then you also have to build them up into who Christ says they are, because that behavior is being perpetuated by lies, by trauma, by the things that we've experienced. So I just wanted to make
That
sure
is
that we
so true.
address, those two areas because it's very important. And the last thing I wanted to say is what you said was so powerful. And my godfather told me this while I'm in the midst of, waiting and things of that nature. And we need to, you solidified it. And I just want to put it out there that women, men who are waiting, if you connect yourself with someone and your relationship with God begins to dissipate, diminish, then you know that's not the person that God sent for you.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
Bottom line. Cameo has gone through it. I've gone through it. Lou has gone through it. Tanya has gone through it. So if we can keep you from going through it, if we can tell you that it wasn't worth the pain and the things that we've gone through, even though God has restored, as we can obviously see, we just want to help people before you even get in there. And if you're in there, we want to help snatch people out. Lou, did you want to say something?
Just to the part of where you said about, honestly, like, when you, like you said, when you check people, tell them your story too.
That's right.
It
Yes.
has to be relatable is what
Yes.
moves people. And being able to say where I was and
Hmm.
and where God is taking me in the current moment. And
That's
I'll,
right.
I'll even use our story for example. Like I said, me and Cameron, we meeting in 2018. We're still not out of it. We just know that God's ready to change us now. He says this here is
Hallelujah.
this moment. At that point, I'm still sleeping around with women, still
Mm-hmm.
not doing what I'm supposed to
And I
be.
hadn't left all of my baggage. I'm still with in between two.
So
Right.
we're
Exactly.
still, we're still not far removed. And
Yeah.
then this is where you say, God was like I said, because we looked at each other and we were like, not today. She had the same thing. I was like, nope, not today. No. Mm-mm. I did
Like,
too. No, I'm not doing
yo,
it.
put the blinders
No, I mean, we had put
on.
the blinders on. We was not going to talk. But the funny thing about it, to give you the, like I said, Stolen Lunches paired us together with another person, Veronica Somerville, to create a co-ed Bible study. So we ended up, she
We didn't know we were gonna work together. So the last day of the retreat, I said, and I tell him all my business.
Mm,
Like, I'm never gonna see this man again, so I'm not worried about it. I'm telling him
yeah.
everything because this was a transparent retreat. Like I could release. I go back to Bible study, the women's Bible study, and Jacinda walks up. She's like, "Yeah, I want to put you. Are you ready for a Bible study?" I know. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Did you not
Mm,
hear everything I just told you at the Bible study? Like, I am so weak right now."
mm.
But I said yes to God. I said
Jesus.
Mm.
yes to God
Come
first,
on.
and then
myself, I'm looking, me and Cameron were talking, and we have our own thing. We've been transparent. I'm like, I got my own drama, but she got a lot of drama going on. I don't want nothing to do with her.
Mm.
God was like,
you don't want nothing to do with me
That's
after
being
I done
real,
so
right?
much drama.
I was just like, we
Yeah.
don't have nothing to do with each other. We were like, yo, look, we got our own stuff to deal with.
Right.
And
Right.
I was just like, and Jacinda calls me. She asked me at the Bible said, do you want to run a co-ed? I was like, no. I said, no. I did the same exact. I said, well, I said no, but
Mm,
specifically, no, multiple times. I said, all right. Then I gave her a stipulation. I said, God, if you want me to lead that Bible study, it has to be 3 people, not 4. not two,
One for
not
the
one.
Son, Father, and the Holy Ghost.
It's like, yeah, it gotta be three. That's what I did. That's how I said it in my mind. I was like, there gotta be three of us, including me. You need to figure it out. Now, but maybe an hour or two later, just sitting and says, hey, I got two people that want to do co-ed Bible study. All right, sure, guys. That's it. That's it.
And then told us who we were talking to, and I'm like, oh Lord, I gotta tell you. And I met Veronica at the retreat too, and that's a story by itself. But I met her, and when she told me who the two people were, I said, you gotta be kidding me. Of all the people I met at the retreat, those are two people, especially him. I was okay with Veronica, but we had a back end story that me and her met. It was like, really, God? And he will
But
clean
don't you?
anything hidden in the dark will come to light.
Yes.
And when people are telling their story, like you said, to be transparent. Because when I tell people now, I'll tell you if it's a young lady who needs to get out of a toxic relationship,
Yeah.
you're going to crave the toxicity because that's what you're familiar with, number one. Number
Yes.
two, you will feel like you're dying as you detach yourself. Lay in
Mm-hmm.
the bed and feel that way. Don't ask
Right.
them, but lay in the bed and feel that way for a little bit. And then you need to find other women who already survived.
Yes.
It is a
There you
surviving
go.
situation. It is
Mm.
not
That's
anything
so
to be
good.
like. And so people do like to automatically judge. And I always ask, what was your childhood like? Because
Yes.
that will tell me why you accept that man's behavior. And
Yes.
then you got to start your healing process. And
Mm.
me and Lou, because we started that Bible study with Veronica, we had to start a healing process because me, Veronica, and Lou did not take that job lightly that God
Right.
gave us. We met every week. We talked on the phone every week and we
Mm-hmm.
challenged each other. We challenged Veronica. Veronica challenged us. We challenged me and her. I mean, me and
And
him.
Joe was on there. You guys know
And
Joe.
then Joe came in like
Mm-hmm.
Oh
right
yes.
after we started meeting. Then Joe came in. Joe taught us. Joe was
Joe
the
whipped us
issue.
into shape. Yeah.
He was like, this is the word. What are you doing?
Right.
And
Yeah,
it
I
was,
can see that.
yeah, that was good.
And then, so, at that point, we're talking about two people that are still, we're strong for God. We love God. That is home for us. We just got lost. And I mean, we got
Mm-hmm.
so far lost.
Yeah.
And that,
It hurt.
it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
that challenging piece was why you keep sleeping with all these women all the time. Like, how you gonna be a Bible study leader and you sleeping around? Like, that's the one.
Jesus.
Mm,
And then he
Well,
looked
that's
at
mm.
me, huh?
mm-hmm. I was just gonna say the accountability piece. Like
Yeah,
you have to have people that will hold you accountable. You can't see your brother, like you said, sleeping around. Nobody gonna say nothing. We gonna act like this isn't happening. Like even if you choose not change it, it wouldn't be because I didn't address it. And I think that's what we need more in relationships and in the body of the Christ and being able to say me too. So I'm not telling you because I haven't been there, but I'm telling you it's not profitable. God isn't pleased with it. You're better than that. Even pouring into the person that you're
Those are
better
those exact words to
than
use.
that. And as you pour into them and help them
Yeah,
come into the image, because right, it's an image. It says that we're made in the image of God. But if I don't know what that
in the
looks
image.
like,
And
how can
yes,
I even operate? But if you tell me that I'm handsome, I can do all things, through Christ. Cameo, you're beautiful. God has a plan and a purpose for you. That's why
for your
one, we
life.
got to know the
Yes,
word. Two, that's why we got to encourage in the Lord, though. That's what makes the difference.
yes.
I'm sorry. The
yeah,
accountability is huge
No,
for me. It's been
it
huge in my
is
life.
yeah,
what I
yeah. Surrounding yourself with the right people, and that's what I caught out of what you
Yeah.
said too, Cameo.
Yeah.
And we found,
Surrounding, you have to. You can lay in the bed for a minute. I mean, Lou did a little bit of laying in the bed too when he was going through. You can lay
Right.
in the bed for a minute, but
Yeah.
one of my favorite quotes is, "You don't drown by falling in the water. You
Mm.
drown by staying there."
Mm.
Right? And that's Edwin Lewis Cole. You drown by staying there. You make a conscious decision that you're going to ignore everything that God says you are, and you decide to lay in your mess, or you look for more mess to make you feel better. And
Yeah.
that is a decision to not do that anymore. And if
Mm.
you're not strong enough, then those people that you have in your circle, like the Joes
Mm.
and the Jacindas and the Fly Ties and the Benicias, those are the people that can lift you up
Yeah.
we
and
are still,
and put you on the right path.
I said, when you talk about me and Cameo, like we have so many of you guys around, so many of us.
We could probably list, I mean, over 10 people off the top of our heads right now who helped us. We can't even tell you all. We've only mentioned 2 or 3 names here, and that's not even baseline, because if I wasn't with Melody or Jacinda or Asia or Veronica, there was another Veronica, or Joe, you had Diana, Muhammad. I mean, the list just goes on, because we were like, yeah, we're sinners, we're doing our own thing, but we know we're not supposed to do that. Now, it gradually was ending, and by the end of by January, the second week of January 2019, I mean, we're hard facing each other. I'm like, your lifestyle, and I'm telling you, you're a better man than that. Just like a woman, we disrespect ourselves and we lay down with all these men. A man does the same thing. Just because you go in somebody don't mean that you're not connecting yourself like a woman takes from a man. Like when a man is inside of us, we are like our bodies just naturally grab everything he is. And the same thing is happening for the man, but men don't always know to think that way.
Right.
And he challenged me because I struggle with that relationship, the one where he was separated. I struggled until May 2019, the end of May 2019. I still was going back and forth, and as a friend, I would go do my thing, and when I was hurt to the point where I couldn't keep myself, I go right back to my friend and I just cry. He'd be like, I don't know why you keep doing this to yourself, honey. Like, you know you're better than that. And I'm like, I know, but I just can't stop. Like,
we were hard-headed accountability.
Hard-headed accountability. and by the end of May, I knew I had to end it, and I became. Now it's just me and God in the room, and that's where I needed to be. And Veronica and Lou, I literally was just when I came out of that, I was just done. It was like laying in that water, and they kept shouting to me, "Keep swimming, keep pushing, keep moving your arms and your legs, or you're going to drown." And I had to do a lot of work. And I wish that when women did say it's work, that was the work I was going to be doing. I didn't know that. Lou was just like, all right, I'm done. He literally came home one day. I was at his house. He was like, yeah, I'm going celibate. And I was like, nah, I'm not going celibate. I'm going abstinent, because celibacy is like I'm never getting married. But yeah, I'm going abstinent. It was a switch, just like that.
I was very big on not breaking a promise to God too. So, abstinence is something that I'm going to abstain from. Celibacy is making a promise to God. You're like, and I'm going to break that promise? That don't make.
And then I was embarrassed because I was your accountability partner. And at the time I was telling him, I had went through like a 7-8 month period where I was not active. So that's when I was cheering him on, got him to where he needed to be. And then I fell back. Like a couple weeks after he said he was abstinent, I fell into the bed of somebody. And I was like, how did that happen? I was so strong. And he helped me get back to where I needed to be. So that's what the friendship looked like. It was, you doing this wrong. We need to go back to the word. We need to worship today. He'll cut on the worship music and we just worship. We always stay with Veronica Somerville, Stan for a little bit, Joe. Like, we always were together with our friends.
And even when we weren't, though.
That circle's critical. Yeah.
That was always the music, the sermons, the worship music. I mean, talk about change, because I would tell him, if a weekend I wasn't out I said, I'm craving my party life. He's like, you were just in it too long. And he was there with me and helped me get through this thing. That's why I said craving toxicity. You become addicted to that lifestyle. Like you said, he was addicted to food. I'm addicted to this bad, sinful life I was in. And I knew I didn't want it. I literally would talk to my sons and tell them this is not what you do. I had a double life, because never in the world would they imagine their mom was doing these things, because I look like the saint. I look like the saint walking around. So, it was a lot of challenges to overcome. And even the day he proposed, we were still going through some challenges.
Yeah.
But when God tells you to do something, you just do it. You don't know what it's going to look like on the other side.
Well, let me explain that real quick proposal. We like to ask some questions. So I had actually got the ring back around earlier than her birthday. And Cameo still
was April 2020.
April 2020. And she's still struggling, going through, like, she's still healing. We're both still going through she's still healing. We're still going through our process. And But as the man being a leader, I'm like, I know what God's calling me to do. I got to do what I'm told, even when it doesn't look pretty. It's
Come
not
on.
in the bone. It doesn't look,
Yeah.
and it's not how you would like a traditional relationship to have started. It's not like how I wanted my marriage to begin or my proposal. You talk about, but again, I look at it like me and Cameo have done things the hard way since the day we met each other and the day before we met each other. It's been the same all the way through. But I know that the only time we didn't have issues when we follow God. It may still be hard, but it's only because we have to listen to God. But if we
Right.
do that, there was no problem. So I'm going along this journey, and I'm asking her son, can I marry your mom? Can I ask her father? Can I marry your daughter? Can I ask her mother? Everybody says yes. We get to maybe about a week before, maybe
It
a
was
couple,
3 days
3 days
before.
before, right? She says, oh, now I planned a proposal at this point. I asked friends to come by and please join in, and for prayer. I asked them to join in for prayer first, and anybody that
Mhm.
said yes to that first was told that I was going to propose to Cameo because I wanted you to come for God first because that was
Mm,
the same way that I met
that's
Cameo at 40 Acres
powerful.
Retreat.
That's
So
That's
powerful.
so good, Lou. And you have a question in the feed of how did you know Cameo was truly your godsend to even go
oh, I
to
got
go
that.
to this
That's easy.
point?
I got that one. All right. So I'll tell you that. So 3 days before, but let me finish this one. 3 days before that, she had just looked me square in the eye and she was just like, I need space. I said, oh crap. I said, what do you mean? What space look like? She said,
Right.
I need space. I need 60 days by myself. Oh, that's
I'm like, I'm not breaking up with him, but I'm like, don't even talk to me for 60 days.
I like,
Mm,
okay. I'm
Oh
still telling her, like,
Lord.
all right. I'm like, God, I literally look her, I look Cameo in the eye and I say, let your yes be your yes and let your no be your no. And I
mm,
just left it at
Mm.
I had no idea
mm,
what he's talking about. I was like, okay.
that. But how did I know Cameo was my godsend? In the exact moment, because remember we met in the retreat, so you don't really know. I did know that this woman meant something to me. I don't
mm,
know what that's a very broad statement, but she means something. And then when we talk about the sleeping around thing, when I said I looked Cameo in the eye and said, I'm not doing anything you just told me. I'm gonna continue sleeping around. I don't care if it feels empty. All of a sudden, she got closer, not like physically, but like, just friendship wise. It just stopped. I said, oh crap. It just stopped. I said, and as a friend, I told her my wife will move me. I'll know when I see my wife, something's gonna happen and it'll
mm,
just move me in places that I'm not comfortable with, but I'll know to move. So she
mm.
would say things and I would move. And I'm talking about we're hard headed. So when you start doing things that you're like, why didn't I just not do what I just said I was going to do?
Now he's confused and he doesn't, I don't even think he knows that I'm his wife because he's still telling me about women he meets. Now he's not sleeping around anymore, but he's
I'm
like,
still telling her about women.
maybe that could be my wife. And, I like her and look at her and he would be talking about how pretty these women are. And I'm just sitting here like, no, that ain't it. Just like, that's not the one. So I think somewhere I knew too, but you just know that you feel like when in each other's presence, it is this calming peace you never feel before.
Mm,
It's not questionable. It's
mm,
not, is this person gonna hurt me? Like what's gonna happen?
mm,
It's just calm.
For a man, she made me. I wanted to be better. And I'm
mm,
already doing stuff for God in my mind. So it's like, all right, I'm already going in this path, God. I'm on the direction you need me to go. And I kept telling her as a friend, she would hear all my, I was like, yo, this is how God's talking to me today. I would come to her so excited. God's talking to me like this. He's like, forget the women themselves I'm talking about, but actual like characteristics of the woman that God is like, because I didn't know about the book until later she told me, but that was for women to men. I know there has to be a version like that for men to women. If you couldn't describe looks and what that looked like, that's what I would describe to her. I said, I
mm,
know this is going to be the woman. She's going to move me. She's going to motivate and inspire me. More I say
mm.
inspire because it's something that comes from within, and it's going to
Yeah.
come. Motivation is temporary. So she would do things, and I would just move, and I'd be like, after a while, we would do things and we would talk, and you get that feeling inside. It's just like something's missing. It almost felt like another half, but you don't know what another half is because I know no one ever actually says that. You found just about no one ever actually says, "Oh, it's my better half," until they're like 25 years down the line.
So what month was that you was like,
Mm.
no.
Not what.
Like I know that's her. Like I know that's her.
Oh, we went on a business trip. We went on a business trip together, and she asked me to dance. She doesn't believe me, but I tell her all the time. It's I was so busy socializing and being around everybody else. We got back in that car, and Cameo's a yeller by nature. She's but
I'm working on
she's
it.
passionate. That's all, but a little more
Yeah,
passionate. But she
we
looked me
gonna
in my
work.
eye. She said, she looked me in my eye. She said, "You didn't dance with me."
I didn't yell
Wow.
that day.
Crushed. It was so silent. You know what I mean? Like a woman
Mm,
gets silent, they're like
mm.
she talked, but
Oh,
enough that it was calming. I was just like, that's it. I was done. I was done.
And this is the end of May
Wow.
2019. I'm breaking up with that guy, and we go to this business. I didn't even think I would be bothered, but I tell him before we go to the trip because I was so used to partying, but I was pulling away from that life. So I'm thinking, yeah, I get to go dance. So I said, I want to dance, but I got to get my dance. And I'm thinking he's going to dance with me. Hi, Shay. And so he didn't give me my dance. And when we got back in the car, this was like a day, the next day or something.
No, it was that night.
That
It
night
was
we
that night. She
we
looked
go.
me square in the eye, and when I said I felt my spirit, not my feelings. My spirit was crushed. It was like
Wow.
I crushed my own spirit, and
Wow.
I felt I was just
oh,
this is it. And then the week later, she said she had left her ex, and I was just like, you normally in normal circumstances, I'm gonna tell everybody. We would tell you, don't do that. Let that person do this, and let
They need to
they
heal.
need to heal. They need to go through that. But I was just like, we've been partners in crime at this point. You think about it, since January,
August
August 2018.
2018.
So we've been riding as friends, close, just as friends.
Mm,
And I
For well, almost
almost
it
12.
was 10 months at that time. So as
mm.
soon as I broke up, he was on it. Like, I wanna
he
move
said
to the
he was
next
on it.
level. When
My
can we be
oh,
a girlfriend?
here go, real scenario too, right? We was in a trip at that same business trip. Someone asked, he said, "Oh, is that your
Oh yeah.
fiance?" And no, is
No,
that your
we
husband?
married.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like, are
Is
you
that
guys?
your
Is
husband?
that your husband? She looked at me. She's like, yup.
I don't
Look,
I
know.
never got the memo. Like,
look, you done spoke it into existence. Come
I
on.
Yes,
I was so shocked in that
yes.
because we getting a ride somewhere else. I
I
was
didn't even know it was about to come out of my mouth. I had no idea.
Wow.
I look back at him just as shocked, like, oh shoot, what in the world did I just say? I done opened up a can of worms, and I
Mm-mm.
didn't even. That's how I know it was the spirit that met. The
Yeah.
eye contact we thought we had in August was actually our spirits talking to each other. I will always go with that. And
Mm,
then that when we had little moments like that, and I go, yep, and I don't even know what I'm saying, and I look like, oh shoot, what did I just do?
mm.
I just claimed him as my husband. I don't even know if I and then it was just a lot of stuff. We found a card yesterday
oh yeah, you're right.
that was titled June 3rd, 2019. And I was concerned about his weight, and of course he was drinking a lot at that time because he's a free bachelor. He just thought like, okay, no sex, I'm gonna just keep drinking. I don't know. So I wrote him a note saying, I know that God also don't have this for you either, and that your health is important. And this time I really don't cook. So I made him a meal. I'm like, your food will grow on me over time, and I can't see my life without you. And this
Wow.
is why I want you to stop drinking. Literally, we had not had that boyfriend girlfriend conversation yet, like just friends. I wrote it. I came to his house and I left it in the refrigerator. And like I had the coldest stuff to his house because we always did Bible studies here. There's another part of the story we don't have time for today, but
Oh,
you know,
I'm glad you said that because we have to bring you guys back
Yes.
yeah,
because you touched on a couple things
Mm,
that I really we need to spend some time with.
yes.
Um, because sitting in those two chairs is love, bravery, courage, and authenticity, a
Yes.
double dose of each.
Mm,
And I just admire the both of you so much as a single woman in waiting
mm,
for you to just lay the rawness out there and
yeah.
say, this is who I was, but not who God says I am.
Mm,
And I'm determined to fix that.
yeah.
And I'm here for every woman that's on that journey. That
Right.
is a cross that you are carrying that is so impressive and inspirational. And Lou, for me to hear a man say his spirit was crushed by the words from a woman that he admires,
Mm,
to show that level of vulnerability
mm-hmm.
and to be just so tied to her and wanting to be better. You both, you're blowing my mind today. We have to have you back because you're in business together and you're doing so many great things. So we need to do a part two,
Hmm.
because there's a couple things. I know Benisha's chopping at the bit. She's got a couple things she wants to ask too. But one of the things I want to talk about is how that marriage almost didn't happen because of stuff that Cameo was struggling to let go of. Because of course I listened to the other show and I know some of the things, that you were struggling with, that marriage almost didn't come into play. So we need you guys to come back and share some of that,
I
because
would
us
love
single women walking out here, we can be our own worst enemy
Mm.
when it comes to the list that we have of what
Yeah.
he's supposed to look like, how he's supposed to walk and talk, all of that stuff. We
That's
can
true.
almost chase him away.
Yep.
Hmm.
But I just want to say thank you, because we're closing in on almost an hour and a half,
Oh
Oh
and
wow.
wow.
there's still juicy stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, we
But
it's still a lot.
that's just the beginning of our that was the beginning of our actual relationship. That's where we left off at. So that would be the beginning part of where we went from there
And
to
we
marriage.
still speak a whole lot. Like it's just a lot. And God took for me like 16 years of healing and crunched it up in a year. And I said
Mm.
I was on a fast track, like no joke. And we'll,
Mm.
part two we could go into that, and that's part of the healing that almost didn't allow this marriage to take place. Um, yeah, there's definitely going to be a
Mm.
book.
yes, I think Vicky was trying to nudge you. So yes.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's so much, but God be the glory. Like Jehovah has been so amazing to us.
Mm.
We still working daily. We work before we got on the camera today. We always working because what God blesses you with is not easy work. He wants to know that you're there. But when I tell you it's the best thing I could have ever done, and I've been on the other side of saying like I don't want God, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I know what it's like to be in that club scene in that world. It
Yeah.
nothing compares to the blessings that I had. It's like double.
Absolutely.
I got double. I don't even know if it's considered double. Like it's blessings on
Mm.
top of blessings on top of blessings because I said yes to God first, and I didn't know what I was
Mhm.
saying yes to. Had no idea, and then I had to say yes to Him, and had no idea what I
Mhm.
was doing.
Right.
He had to say
Yes.
yes
So
to God.
good.
Because without God, I knew that time he had to be fully immersed in God to help me because I was so
Mm,
far gone that man
Hmm.
had to be connected to God. So I will follow you because I'm also a very strong, independent woman. So
Hmm.
for those of you that are strong and independent, you don't ever want to listen to a man. You'll listen to the right man. You'll
Hmm.
listen. It'll come.
yes.
My mother raised me to be a very strong, independent woman. So,
Hmm.
abuse will tear you down and you start downing yourself and you start to find yourself. You also have to humble yourself. Marriage is humbling.
Right, right. And it goes back to how we begin the podcast, right? With the head first.
Yeah.
And you're right, because of
Yes.
everything that you had went through, it really is the Christ in Lou, you know? So you're trusting the Christ in him. And that's why it was so important for him. Nobody's perfect, but it was important for him to be able to have a ear to be able to hear God. Because in our flesh, when somebody is bucking against what we want, he could have been like, "What? What you mean? What you mean? 60 days?
2 months.
I done bought this ring and I've done all of this." But when you're connected to God, not saying at times we don't have to, because we got to bring this flesh under subjection all day, every day. But it's a difference when you have a relationship with God, because even when it rises up, even when you're disappointed, all of those things that happen in relationships and marriage, the way we navigate it is totally different, because we can go to God. We don't have to go to the drink. We don't have to go to the club. We don't have to go to the sex. We can go to God, and he in turn will give us the instruction, whether it's to be quiet, whether it's to wait, whether it's insight into what even is going on within her, the person that you're dealing with. And even if you make a mistake and go to those things, the thing that I have seen that is a common thread is that the scripture came to me as we were wrapping up, Jeremiah 29:11. God already knew the plans that he had for you and Lou, irregardless of the things that you had experienced. He knew that your destinies were going to collide. He knew that
Mhm.
what you had been through, number one, you had built such a solid foundation on him first and in a friendship. Even with it's almost like I could see the relationship with God in parallel with your relationship. Listen, with God, we got to be
Mhm.
transparent in order to really be
Mhm.
healed. We got to be real with the stuff that we've been through, how we feel,
Yes.
disappointments, all of those things. And what's key is the word is what is transformative. Point
Yes.
blank, period. We can encourage on a high level. All of that is cute. We can tell people not to do stuff. But when you couple that with the word, that's the only thing that
Seek
really
ye
brings
first.
about the change, is and doing the work. And I commend you both because as believers, sometimes I think we could be lazy. We want this right here, like this genie in the bottle. We want to rub it. We want to be healed. We want the man. We want the
And we want it fast.
finances.
Yeah.
I want to say the scripture one day. And like you said, it had been how many years have you been in the midst of this toxicity? And we want to pay our tithes one time and we want to see that breakthrough. But in this journey, you have to do it over
Mm.
and over. You have to choose because the Bible says choose life. You have to choose it every
Yes.
day. So I just want to say that Tanya, I'm sure our audience are glad that you chose to do the work because now we see this
Yes.
beautiful union that had messy backgrounds, just like all of us, but
Real
God
world.
is
Real
using it
life.
for ministry,
Yes.
for
Yes.
ministry. You have blessed myself, Tanya, and I'm sure so many people. So stay the course, stay connected, keep doing the work because the benefit,
Yes.
the reward of obedience is so much better. And we know that, and we don't give them any credit, but the Bible says that we have to recognize the schemes and the devices of the enemy. We know he hates marriage. He hates it. And so we have to go into it recognizing it's not the partner, it's not the person, it's the spirit that's trying to come in to conquer and divide. But what God puts together, let no man put
No
asunder.
man.
And so
That's
we
right.
pray many blessings, many, many,
Many,
many
many
blessings,
blessings.
many years of just being a great example, even to your kids. It's amazing. And so, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much
Thank you guys
for
so
not
much.
giving up and doing the work. I really, really, really love you guys.
Well, thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for having us. Thank you for because
Yes.
we no longer than time. So we thank you. There's a lot to the story. We could be talkative, but we appreciate the patience it took and the interactiveness of the audience. So this was amazing. And we
Yeah,
need to
we'll definitely have you back. We want to hear about your business venture.
Yes,
Please tell everybody where they can go to get in touch with you. And next time you come back, we're going to talk about being Christian entrepreneurs. We're going
yes,
to spend some time on that because that's a real journey.
that is.
We dealt with the dating and the marriage journey today. We'll have to do part 2 for the entrepreneur journey. Where can they find you?
Well, me and Cameo both have a business page. Lou Good and Cameo Good. Goodwin, her still has Goodwin. Or you can go to our Inspire Healthcare Freedom page. And honestly, we've tagged our personal pages. If you reach out to us, that's part of our journey. Is that when she gets men that hit her out and they need help, she sends them to me, and I send out any women, I send them to her, and
Mm,
Awesome.
we get
wisdom.
yeah.
Yeah,
Kingdom wisdom.
wisdom.
Well, no
Awesome.
play on the name, but y'all be good. Okay? Y'all be real good.
Real good.
We
Absolutely.
love
Thank
you
you
and
so
thanks for
much.
You
coming
guys,
out.
thank you.
Have a
I
good
appreciate
Okay.
one.
it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Tanisha, weren't they awesome?
It was so amazing, very refreshing to see God's restoring power. Just it was
Yeah.
refreshing. No matter where you find yourself, to know that when
Mm-hmm.
God's hand is on your life, that He will bring it all together and use you for His glory. It was good. It was really
I
good.
know it was very hopeful for
It
us
was.
single ladies walking too,
Yes.
they're being worked on. And it's so funny because that's always said to me, you know, God's working on him right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming, right? So
Yeah.
we've been waiting on that. But it's actually happening.
It
He's
is.
probably being worked on right now. But
Right.
we want to say thank you guys. We'll see you next week. We ran a little bit long, but it was well worth it.
It was
And
worth it.
we'll see you next time, same place on Saturday. You be
Bye.
good
Happy
and be
Saturday.
blessed.
Yes.
Take care, y'all.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.